Hello, let's continue our Sudoku adventure with self-reference by me, Rangsk. So I like to make every milestone 50 puzzle. So this is number 550 for adventure. And so I made this for that to celebrate that. It is a bit of a harder puzzle. I would say it's either at the top end of adventure difficulty or maybe even a bump higher than what we normally publish. But it's my series and I get to break the rules. I think this is a neat puzzle, and it at least demonstrates kind of how you can go a little bit beyond the logic you may be used to in this series. So we have broken beyond this barrier probably a couple times in this series, sometimes by accident. But yeah, my testers say it's on the line there. It depends on whether you're able to see a couple important steps. So anyway, obviously I made this puzzle, so I'm just going to be walking through how I think it's best solved, but I could have easily missed something. So feel free to leave a comment if you found a different way through this, or if you think you found a more elegant way through it. But yeah, so let's go over the rules. So we do have normal 6x6 Sudoku rules, meaning in every row, every column, and every 2x3 box, we are placing the digits 1 to 6 exactly once each. We also have what are called double arrows here. I know there's no arrows involved, but it's named based on the arrow, which is a circle with a line coming out of it with an arrow at the end. This is instead, it looks kind of like a between line, but it is a double arrow. And so these are just overlapping double arrows that share circles. So you can kind of see that we make kind of like a line all the way through. But this is a double arrow, this is a double arrow, this is a double arrow. So how do they work? Well, there's two circles with a line connecting them. The sum of the digits in the two circles needs to be the same sum as the digits on the line. So these 4 digits sum to the same as these two. These 2 digits sum to the same as whatever this digit is, right, etc. And that's it. Those are the rules. There's a link in the description if you'd like to try the puzzle yourself, and I'm going to get started right now. Right, hopefully the eye is drawn to this 4-length line here, because that is quite restrictive. If you think about the minimum this line could be, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, which is 10, which means that the minimum these two can add to is also 10. And if you think about it, that means they are from 4, 5, 6, because if we tried to include a 3, we would need a 7 in the other one in order to reach 10. And we certainly can't go lower than 3. So they are from 4, 5, 6. Now, if you look at this double arrow here, this is saying that these two add to this digit. So this has to be smaller than this, which means it cannot be a 6. So it's from 4, 5, making this from 5, 6. If you think about it, that means this is from 1, 2. If we tried to put a 3 here, our minimum would be 4 plus 3, which would be 7. That would be no good. So this wants the circles to be large, and this wants the circles to be smaller. So they kind of conflict, and we end up more restricted. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to color this 4, 5 green. It's going to be useful in a few different ways, but our first way it's useful is thinking about where does green go in this box now? Well, it can't go in row 1. There's already a green in row 1. So there has to be a green somewhere down here, which does put it on its own line. So if you want to, the best way to think about this, in my opinion, is green is on its own line, meaning it takes care of its own sum. Whatever green ends up being, it's taking care of that part of the sum on its own, which means the rest of the sum is just this circle. So the 3 cells on this line that are not green, that are not, whether this is 4 or 5, the 3 cells on here that are not green must add to this digit here. And 3 cells are minimum 1, 2, 3, which adds to 6. And so this is also minimum 6, so it has to be a 6 because it can't be higher than that. So these are going to be 1, 2, 3 plus green. This can't be green, so this is 1, 2, 3. And then these are 1, 2, 3 green, which I'm not gonna pencil. But what we can do is ask, where then does 6 go in this box? The answer is it's not on its own line because it's 1, 2, 3 in green, none of which are 6. And so the 6 ends up here because it can't repeat in the column. That does put a 6 down here. And this cell here is going to be whatever's not on this line. This line is 1, 2, 3 green. So this cell here is the other 4, 5 that doesn't appear on this line. We're going to call that purple. Because why not? All right, and that means we have a 4, 5 pair here and the 6 taken care of. These are from 1, 2, 3. Just some simple Sudoku. All right. So, what's a good next step to think about? I think thinking about thinking about this is useful. So we thought about the 6 up here. Let's think about how the 6 works down here. So what is the maximum that these two digits can be? Well, it's 4, 5, because we can't use the 6. Now 4 plus 5 is 9, meaning that the sum of these two is at most 9. Because if we tried to put like a 4 here adding to 10, how could we make these two add to 10? The answer is we cannot. And so this is from 1, 2, or 3 only, because it has to be 9 or less. Now we don't know whether it's 7, 8, or 9 right now, so we can't fill this out, but we do know it can't exceed that. Okay. And so now this cell here maxes out at 5, because it can't be 6. There's a 6 in the row. So this cell here, naively, we could think can be from 1, 2, 3, 4, because this can be from 3, 4, 5. But I'm going to argue that 4 is not possible, and it should be pretty clear that 4 is not possible, because if this was a 4, this would have to be 1 and 5, and then now this would have no value, right? Because we already have a 4, 5 up here somewhere. So this is not a 4. That does make a 1, 2, 3 triple here, meaning this is from 4, 5, 6. Okay. Also, we can say that 6 is down here, one of these two. We can say 6 is down here in one of these two. And if you look at this column, or if you look at these 6s lining up, you can see that 6 is limited down to one of these two. Well, if 6 is in one of these two, that claims the box, meaning this cannot be a 6. So what can this be? Well, the first thing I'm going to argue is it can't be from 1, 2, 3, because we have a 1, that would cause a 1, 2, 3 triple here, meaning all of our 1, 2, 3s are gone. So these would be from 4, 5, 6, and we're saying that 2 1, 2, 3s add to the same as 2, 4, 5, 6s, and that's just not going to happen. This would be way too big. This would be way too small. The biggest this could be is 5. The smallest this could be is 9. That's no good. So this can't be from 1, 2, or 3, and it also can't be 6. So it is from 4, 5. Okay, it's at this point that you could use two different steps. The step that I actually intended was to think about the extreme on this guy now that we kind of have all this limited. The extreme would be this being a 5. So if this, I'm just going to write it out. It is possible to see in your head, but I'm just going to write it out to show you. So if this was 5, 6, so if this was 5, this would force to be 6, and then this would be 1. So we'd have 5 plus 1 is 6. And if you think about these 6s here that we marked, that makes it clear that 6 ends up here then. And so now we've got a 6 on this sum that's supposed to sum to these two, which can only sum to 6. So we'd have to put, what, a 0 here? It doesn't work. So that's broken. So that would allow us to place a 4 here, which doesn't get you as much progress as this alternative step that I actually really liked. So I'm going to use that instead. So this is one that a tester found when they solved the puzzle, and I thought it was neat. I think it was Palfly, so I'm going to credit Palfly. So this is really cool. So the question we want to ask is, and this is a question that's always really interesting to ask in puzzles like this, which is, are these the same or are these different? So we're going to look at the case where they're the same, because we kind of want them to be different. Because if they were different, like if this was purple, then this would see a green and a purple, and it would be a 6, and we get a lot of information from that. So what if they were the same? We want to try to prove that they can't be the same. So if these were both green, if they were the same, that actually is interesting, because that means that this sum, this 5 or 6, sums to the same as these two digits, because they both have green on one end and whatever this digit is on the other end. So green plus this digit goes here, green plus this same digit goes here as a sum. So the question is, where does this cell, let's call it orange, where does orange go in this column? Well, it can't repeat in the box. It's not 1 or 2. It's not green because it's in the same box as green. And so it goes on this line with what? With a 0? Because this has to sum to the same as this. We don't have 0. So that doesn't work. That's broken. So because that's broken, we can call this purple. And now this cell here sees green and purple, meaning it has to be a 6. It can't be 4 or 5 because we can't color it green. We can't color it purple, which means it can't be 4 or 5 at all. So it's 6. That makes that a 5, which forces these to be minimum, 4 plus 1. Also places the 6 here. These are not 1s. And we know that purple is 5. So we can clean all this up. We don't really need that marked anymore as colors. This is not a 4. Okay, and so now where does 5 go in this column? It can only go here, so we can actually place a 5 there. Now, how do we achieve 5 with these two? Well, we can't do 1 plus 4, so we have to do 2 plus 3. That does place a 1 here. All right. So I think there's a few things we could think about at this point, but let's actually think about down here. So because this column, we have 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is a 1, 6 pair now. So that adds to 7. All right, I guess I could do this first. That's probably easier. Because we know that this adds to 6. So this has to be 2 plus 4. And that means that's a 3. That makes that 2. That makes that, that makes that 2 as well. We get a 3 in the corner, doing, and then that's a 3. So now this is very easy to think about. It adds to 9, which means this has to be 4, 5, which is the only way to add to 9, because we can't do 3, 6. 4, 5 does make this a 2 and a 4. That places, sorry, not 3. That places 4 here. These are from 1, 2, 3. And we can see that this ends up a 1. Just finishes the row. That's 3 and 2. We might as well fill this out as well. This is 1, 3, 4. That's not 1. That's not 3. And you can see this does add to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4 is 10. These two add to 10. We're all good. This is 9. That's 9. This is 5. That's a 5. This is 5. That's a 5. This is 6. That's 6. So let's think about this final double arrow. So this adds to 7. This is a 2, 3 pair. So we're either going to be 7 plus 2, which is 9, or 7 plus 3, which is 10. Well, that means this is definitely not a 6. We can place the 6, 1, and 6. That's not important, though. What's important is that this cell here is going to either add to 9 or 10 with the 5, which means it's 4 or 5, but it cannot be a 4. So it has to be 5 plus 5. That makes that a 3 and a 2. That makes this 4 and 5 and 1. And then now we just have to finish with Sudoku here. So down up here, we need a 1 and a 3. That's 3 and 1. That's 4 and 3. Down here, we need 2 and 4. So that's 2 and that's 4. There we go. So I really liked that step here with these having to be different. But I feel like most people are going to just fiddle with this sum and figure out that this can't be a 5, hopefully relatively quickly if you start fiddling with it. And so then you can fill this 4. And then there are ways forward from there as well. But yeah, cool. Hope you enjoyed my puzzle. Let me know how you did on it. Let me know how you felt about the difficulty. And if you used a different step than I did, I'm very interested in knowing that. And of course, if you enjoyed it, why not leave a like, subscribe, and a kind comment below.